Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Twitter Trash. Got some pretty spicy tweets for you. Nothing too crazy, but let's not delay any further. Let's just get right into the first one.
Supreme victory.
In the closing arguments, the Depp lawyer called your testimony the performance of a lifetime, and said you were acting. What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers.
So Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp already feels like a lifetime ago. It happened. Johnny ended up victorious. You know, he won it for the boys. We're all happy. Everyone's rejoicing for the most part. There's a couple of salty people, but whatever. And there's this one salty person by the name of Michelle Dauber, who is, just won't let this go. And this is a little bit of an older tweet, but at the same time, I thought I just need to bring it up because she's so salty, so much so that, everybody's calling Amber Heard Amber Turd. It's always trending and stuff. So she coined the term Johnny Derp, which is that's so funny. That's so hilarious. It's such a good one. And she had to point out that Pirates of the Caribbean, the franchise, is just deeply racially problematic. Captain Jack and the Pirates of the Caribbean whitewashed and erased slaves and slavery from the 18th century Caribbean, where its practice was probably most cruel in the world. Pirates were often far from the freedom fighters the film portrayed, but were slaveholders themselves. In case you need another reason to hate Johnny Derp, the Pirates franchise is deeply racially problematic. In some, even the fictional character Derp's fans love and think is a real depiction of Derp himself is almost certainly a racist sociopath. There's so much to unpack in this because, it's one of those things where I think somebody summed it up pretty well in a reply. What tipped you off that the Pirates franchise isn't historically accurate? Was it the guy with octopus for a face? That's such a weird thing to complain about, that, oh, you didn't make it as gritty and real as I think it should be. When you're making a Disney movie or a Pirates movie or whatever, you're going to make it fun and quirky so the kids can enjoy. They're not trying to make Amistad or something. They're not trying to make Glory. They're not trying to make anything that has to do with slavery and then just the harsh reality of the Caribbean and pirates and the scurvy and just all the death and all the famine and all this crazy stuff. This let's have a fun franchise. Let's bring your kids to see Johnny Depp act like an idiot. This is a fun franchise. See the squid guy, the Davy Jones guy. Who cares? Why are they removed slaves and now it's so problematic that they're acting like it doesn't exist. And the interesting thing about that, I know somebody who actually is not a fan of Game of Thrones because since it is fake fiction, it's supposed to be historical fiction or whatever, he's upset. He's a black man, by the way, and he was upset that, was it necessary? Did you really have to put all these slaves in the Game of Thrones universe? You can do whatever you want. There's magics, there's dragons, there's zombies and stuff, but all the brown people still have to be slaves. And it was interesting. I was like, that's an interesting point. I mean, yeah, they could have done whatever they wanted. Just like in the Pirates, were like, let's just move away from that altogether. And I'm sure no one's going to be upset. Actually, yeah, people are going to be upset. It's like no matter what you do, some people are going to be upset because it's like you have a video game, right? And then you put in black people or brown people or something where they don't belong. Then you have all these weirdos, these greasy, neckbeard basement dwellers that get super upset about this stuff where it's like, all right, man, just calm down. Just calm down. Is the game good? Is the story good? Is the movie still good? How about not letting that bother you? I'm saying you can maybe roll your eyes, sure. But where people take to Twitter and they write stuff and they make videos and they're like, this is just such an atrocity. It's like, calm down, guys. So I didn't mention this in my Johnny Depp video, the last one I did about the verdict and everything. And I just want to put this because I forgot about this website, The Root. And The Root is significant to me because it is the reason how Joe Rogan got onto my radar. I made a video about The Root. It was about white tears. It was such a stupid video. But yeah, so The Root had an article about the court situation, and I just wanted to just show you the headline. Amber Heard verdict sends a message to black women everywhere. And boy, would you look at that ratio. And look, I'm gonna be fair, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't read the article because I remember what The Root is about. I remember this was probably like in 2017, sifting through their website and being like, oh, okay. And I'm sure it's just more garbage. And especially since this situation has nothing to do with black people. It's kind of like when I would read stuff about pollution being racist, because their air pollution would be higher in poor neighborhoods, and poor neighborhoods usually have brown people in them. So by default, pollution is racist. And I'm like, well, it's like clickbaity dumb shit where it's like you can say what I just said right now and not say, therefore pollution is racist. It's like, take that rhetoric out and talk about the issue that, hey, we should try to clean up the air in these neighborhoods because it's affecting these communities more than others. And then people would be way more willing to listen. So I'm sure some of you have heard that Canada, the one that doesn't have a gun issue, are taking steps to, to crack down and have stricter gun laws. It's funny that they're really trying to do something, and then, we're not really doing much over here. But I'm sure a lot of you have heard about that. And Ian Miles Chong, of course, he had to say this. If America decides to invade Canada and defeats the military, Canadians are going to be powerless to stop them because Trudeau took away all their guns. There's like this weird fantasy that, like, say, the citizens of a country are going to rise up and defeat a military. It's hilarious. It's like people who say, we need the Second Amendment in the United States to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. And I say to you, that all sounds nice and good. But if the National Guard, or even the police, with the paramilitary equipment that they have now, what are you going to do against that? What is the type of stuff that we're allowed to have is going to be feathers. It's going to be tickling them. So it's a funny idea. It's a cute thought, right? I understand the sentiment. Sounds nice and cute. Like back in the day when there wasn't this high tech, military stuff where it's just like muskets and cannons. Like, yeah, the people definitely can stand a chance. It's not like that anymore. So having thoughts like this is so silly because it's just like, it's such a fantasy. If anything, let's just say for the sake of argument, if a scenario like that ever happened, it would be so devastatingly atrocious just seeing just mass slaughter of civilians trying to pew drones, RPGs, sound cannon, just everything, man. It would be a disaster. So there's a guy that was trying to wrongfully celebrate that Street Fighter 6 finally has its first playable black woman character in the franchise. Thinking he's trying to do something, trying to virtual signal a little bit, like, hey, look it. And people who are Street Fighter fans were like, have you ever played Street Fighter 3? There's a black woman in Street Fighter 3. She's actually pretty awesome, by the way. So he says this: you celebrate Street Fighter 6, including the franchise's first playable black woman, and suddenly everyone wants to question your street cred because you forgot about Elena. I've been playing fighting games for almost 30 years. Elena is Kenyan. Kimberly is African American. There's a difference. So being from Africa makes you not black? It's just like, just take the L, man. There's nothing wrong with being wrong sometimes. And I feel like so many people can't just gracefully take the L. Just be like, my bad, delete the tweet, and then people are going to forget about it. Take your children to church, not drag bars. The reason I'm bringing this up because when this person says take your kids to church and not drag shows or drag bars or whatever, the thing that annoys me the most about most of these good old boys that always talk about this and protecting kids from predators and all this, like, church is the last place you want to take them. And I don't, look, I understand a lot of you are religious. That's fine. You know, it is what it is. I am a non-religious person, but you can be religious and also acknowledge that religion harbors the most predators towards kids by farther than anything that has existed, any other entity, far. If you want to not be lazy, you can just look up the tens of thousands of cases of sexual abuse towards kids through the church, all different churches, not just Catholic Church. We already know about that one, but just church in general. It is a place that a lot of perverts flock to because they know they will have influence over a lot of people. The amount of stories I've read of just pastors being like, hey, I like your 13-year-old through 16 or whatever. God told us to be together, and then there's just abuse. It always happens. I watch live streams pretty much once a week, and they have a religious section on this, like, look at all of this abuse that no one on the right will talk about. Yet they want to go these drag bars and then teachers and, you know, libs of TikTok or whatever. They want to talk about all this stuff, but they won't go anywhere near this. They won't touch any of it. They don't talk about none of that abuse. And it just really shows, my whole point is, they don't actually give a fuck. It's all about the culture war. It's not about protecting kids. Because if it were about protecting kids, they would be focusing on the biggest problem. And that is the biggest problem by far. It cannot be contested. If you are railing against it, it's because you are a part of this indoctrination and you're trying to protect it. That's what a lot of them are doing. But if you're being honest with yourself, you will acknowledge this and you will fight against it. All of these QAnon people that say they're trying to snuff out all the pedos and all this stuff, they're doing nothing about that. And so anytime anybody comes with this stuff and tries to come at you and say, I'm just doing this, or these people are they're all perverts, they're all groomers, they're all this and that, just point it back at them and say, hey, why don't you talk about all of these cases, these huge rings of tens of thousands of kids being abused, case after case, all well documented for decades, and you say not one word. Like, throw that at their face. See how they respond. If they don't turn on a switch and say, you're right, we do need to do something about this, then my point has been proved, and your point will have been proved, that they don't give a fuck about kids, and they only care about the culture war, which is owning the libs. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. I appreciate y'all. I want to give a big shout out to my hardest of our patrons. Hugger Derek, the movie theater manager. You're so sexy. You're too sexy. That's why you need to be destroyed. Ashley M. You still look like a feminist, but I still appreciate your support. And Jacob S. You're gay. Anyway, guys, thank you so much, and I'm gonna be revamping my Patreon very soon. I got a lot of huge events coming up, but I'll explain in due time. But yeah, thank you guys so much for your continued support, and I'll see you very soon.